The way this country talks about black victims versus white victims is disgusting. Nolan Wells' body was found yesterday off the coast of Mississippi. If you didn't know, he was presumed missing and dead on July 4th. It is America's 250th birthday, and we're still dealing with this bullshit. He was celebrating with his friends for the 4th of July, and there's now circulating video that is going very viral of what looks to be him and his friends that he went with on the beach, and there's an argument. There's yelling happening. In the video, he looks to be very calmly standing still looking at his buddies. And somehow, the conversation is about his behavior. Why wasn't he on the boat? Was he drinking? Was he going from one boat to another? Now, I'm going to give you a scenario. It's kind of morbid, so stick with me, and trigger warning. If I show up dead, washed on a beach, my community of people where I was born are not going to go, well, how was Jake acting? Did he stay where he was supposed to? Did he start an argument with people? No, it's going to go, what the fuck? We have someone that would kill people out here? Jake, I love that guy. He plays for the football team. I'm just putting myself in Nolan's shoes. Nolan plays for the team. He's friends with those people. And the conversation is about his behavior. Just so frustrating. Like, racism is still alive and well just in the dialogue. Just in the dialogue. As simple as that. I just want this country to do better. And I see a future where we just stop with this bullshit and start going like, man, this kid was killed. Like, his on the 4th of July, he is celebrating with everyone. And he can't even do that. We can do better. We got to do better. Oh, and apparently one of the friends' moms is a local judge. And if you think that will work in Nolan's favor, you clearly don't know anything about the history of young black men in this country. This isn't going to go anywhere. We have to speak up about it.
These boys, young men, went out on a boat, landed on an island, and 4 of them left Nolan behind. And he was found a few days later, dead. As a white mother, I am sick and tired of white people getting away with irresponsibility. One of their mothers was a judge, and they're saying they do not suspect foul play. That's what the police are saying. They do not suspect foul play. For fuck's sake.
If white people are on here skeptical and asking questions about the death of Nolan Xavier Wells, then we all need to pay attention. The disappearance and ultimate death of this boy does raise many questions because there are some very bizarre things in the sequence of events. They look really happy in that picture. They go off on the 4th of July to Horn Island to celebrate. The 3 white boys return, but he disappears and is found dead. They were happy to return without him? That's bizarre. They came home, didn't raise an alarm for him? Bizarre. It's only when the mother became frantic later in the evening that she called the police and the authorities. They had his phone and belongings. Bizarre. What young person in today's day and age parts with their phone? One of the boys' mother is a judge. When they get back, they are suddenly all lawyered up. Bizarre. Unless you've got something to hide, why would you do that? All of a sudden, all their media is deactivated. There is a video going viral showing that there was an altercation or an argument between Nolan and his friends. So what happened? There's another case that the black community is comparing this to of Tamla Horsford from Georgia, a woman who went for a sleepover with a whole bunch of white women. Her body was found in the backyard the next morning. Apparently, she had fallen off the balcony. It was deemed an accident. How bizarre. And this is something that happens time and time again. It's all about race and racism. It's all about black experience. So, in this case, the family will want justice, as does the entire black community. And if they don't get the transparency and the answers, then is this another case of Black lives don't matter?
Hi, this is for white people in regards to the Nolan Wells situation, story, death, murder, probably, who knows. Hey, white people, you don't need to say it's not all white people. You don't need to say, oh, but me and my and Mo, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We all know that it's not all white people. We also know that it's always white people. So,
people's business, but I want you to know that we know that they killed that boy. He was the only black gentleman in a group of 4 boys in Mississippi, and an altercation broke out just as Nolan was talking to a female, talking to a girl, excited about talking to a girl. How much you want to bet nobody liked that he was in Mississippi talking to a white girl? Now, I'm not going to pretend that I know the racist experience. I'm not going to pretend I know the black experience, but I know the same thing that I knew when Tamla Horsford died, and that is that a single black human does not go out or into a group of all white people, come out dead, nobody knows what fucking happened, and it's not their fault. There is a reason they say don't play in the snow by yourself, it's cold. And that's all I'm gonna say. I'm just want to say that I am terribly sorry to his family, and I am terribly sorry about what happened to him, and we all know they fucking did it. And I want you to know that we know they didn't. A grown black man does not go out with a bunch of white fucking boys in Mississippi, hear that he's talking to a white girl, he disappears, nobody knows what fucking happened, but now his body's there. No, I'm sorry, fuck off. We know what happened to that boy.
This is gonna be a hot take, and it's either gonna get me canceled or people are gonna be like, you're right. So here we go. I'm just gonna say it. Black people have got to stop hanging out with groups of white people. And I mean that. If you're gonna be the only black person in that group, go home. Go home. Because these days, you just can't trust white people anymore. Obviously. It happens time and time and time again. You see one black person hanging out with their group of white friends, and they're like, oh, I've known these guys for forever. We grew up with them. I'm the only black person in the high school or something like that. Especially down here in the South, okay? Down here in the South. Obviously, we realize that these pieces of crap, the white people, will turn on you. They will turn on you quick. So not only do y'all have to be worried about the police, now you need to be worried about your group of white friends that you grew up with. And am I saying every white person's like that? No, obviously not. Okay, but better be safe than sorry, right? And that's a shame. But I just keep seeing it happen. And like over the past 2 or 3 years, especially, if you know what I'm talking about, people have just gotten louder and prouder about it. So really it all boils down to like a lack of empathy these days. That's a whole nother subject though. But yeah, and don't come for me about my hair. I just got them running 5 miles.
Got to teach your kids, especially your kids that are hanging out with rich white kids, that is not good. You gotta stop letting them hang out with rich white kids. This Nolan Wells situation never should have happened. The parents of Nolan Wells should have known better than to let him hang out with these kids. I have an older son. I'm not saying it's the parents' fault, but I'm just saying it happens all the time. My older son is half black. He looked more black than he did half. But he got into a similar situation. He was fighting with a bunch of rich kids in North Atlanta, the North Atlanta suburbs, the richest neighborhood in Cherokee County, Georgia. And he was fighting with a bunch of boys over a girl. And lucky for him, he didn't wind up dead. He just wound up locked up for a while. But it could have wound up with him being killed. And, we as parents, we have to do a better job in informing our children about who they should and shouldn't hang out with, because matters. The color of your skin matters, especially when you're hanging out with a bunch of rich kids that have, doctors and lawyers and judges as parents. You know that your kid is going to either wind up locked up or dead. So my heart goes out to Nolan Wells' family. I really hate that it happened to him, but you gotta protect your children, because white people will kill your children at the drop of a hat. That's just the way it is, especially these entitled little rich white kids. God.
One of their mamas is a local judge. One of their moms is a local judge. We knew when we saw the picture of him and his friends and that he was missing, we already knew. We already knew what happened to him. Okay? Now the mom, one of the moms is a local judge. She gonna do everything she can to protect her son. These kids won't do a day in jail. That whole town, the police, the attorneys, and the judge, they are going to protect those young men, those young white men. They're going to protect them with everything they have, that whole city. And the parents might as well get ready, because y'all about to be dealing with a whole bunch of racist shit. Even though y'all son was murdered, y'all about to be dealing with racist shit like y'all did something to them. Get ready. This is America 101. Yep.
Parents, black parents in particular, sometimes we have to go back to the old school rules. When I was growing up, my grandparents had 2 rules. Never be the only one, and if you know, you know. And number 2, no boats or water activities with them, even if you are not the only one. We need to go back to that. A few years ago, I watched a video of this young man who went boating with his girlfriend, her father, her brother. This was a heavier young man. The girlfriend, the father, and the brother, he had the tiniest life vest. And this was like a big guy. Tiny life vest. I don't remember if he was dared to by the father or pushed in by the father. Could not swim. That tiny life vest did nothing for him. The girlfriend and the father were laughing. You can tell that young man was struggling. Took the brother to jump in and save him. The brother didn't find it funny. Had that brother not been there, that video would have never resurfaced, and that young man probably would not be with us today. Parents, we need to go back to that way of thinking. Protect your baby.
Being the token black person in the friend group would cost you your life. For example, Nolan Wells, who went on a boating trip with his friends, the only black guy in the group, on July the 4th in Mississippi, and he came up missing. And we see the same thing that took place in 2018 when you're talking about Tamala Horsford. She went to a gathering with her white friends and she came up deceased. The sheer amount of times that black people will not understand that when you're the token black person in the friend group, you can die and none of your white friends will say a goddamn thing. See, that's the problem. You think everybody fuck with you. Everybody don't like you. This illusion of inclusion bullshit is a westernized ideology that doesn't exist. Because their concept of patriotism is really racism. You just had 400 white nationalists in DC marching on July the 4th. Some of those people are teachers, firefighters, police officers, judges, lawyers, people you work with. So with all that shit being said, my father said it best. Never be the only one. Never be the only one of your race. Never be the only one that doesn't have any money. Never be the only one that doesn't have a car. Because it's going to create this energy to where you start to seek validation because you're trying to compensate for the lack thereof because you ain't got shit. So you try to live vicariously through white people by getting on their boat. Get your own shit. That's how you save yourself. That's the first rule of nature, is self-preservation. Oh, when it comes to so-called black people, I'm not saying that all Europeans are like this. You got to have some type of social awareness to where you have the mental and spiritual fortitude to see what the fuck is going on around you, right? And rest in peace to Nolan Wells.
If white people are on here skeptical and asking questions about the death of Nolan Xavier Wells, then we all need to pay attention. The disappearance and ultimate death of this boy does raise many questions because there are some very bizarre things in the sequence of events. They look really happy in that picture. They go off on the 4th of July to Horn Island to celebrate. The 3 white boys return, but he disappears and is found dead. They were happy to return without him? That's bizarre. They came home, didn't raise an alarm for him? Bizarre. It's only when the mother became frantic later in the evening that she called the police and the authorities. They had his phone and belongings. Bizarre. What young person in today's day and age parts with their phone? One of the boys' mother is a judge. When they get back, they are suddenly all lawyered up. Bizarre. Unless you've got something to hide, why would you do that? All of a sudden, all their media is deactivated. There is a video going viral showing that there was an altercation or an argument between Nolan and his friends. So what happened? There's another case that the black community is comparing this to of Tamla Horsford from Georgia, a woman who went for a sleepover with a whole bunch of white women. Her body was found in the backyard the next morning. Apparently, she had fallen off the balcony. It was deemed an accident. How bizarre. And this is something that happens time and time again. It's all about race and racism. It's all about black experience. So, in this case, the family will want justice, as does the entire black community. And if they don't get the transparency and the answers, then is this another case of black lives don't matter?
His body has been found. Family is devastated. Nolan Wells' body has been found on the island. Even though there's been a lot of conspiracies about this case because his friends left him on the island, the sheriff's office is saying that he chose to stay on the island. That's why his friends left. He chose to stay on the island. And they said there is no foul play. They believe he drowned. That he drowned and this was an accident. Now, I know I've been watching video after video on TikTok, people saying, why'd the friends leave him, this and that. But the sheriff's office today is coming out and saying he chose to stay on that island and this was an accident, this was a tragedy, and he drowned on this Mississippi island. Folks, all I could say is praying for the family. This is devastating. This kid was only 18 years old. The family wanted to thank everyone who searched for him. They said that in the article. They want to thank everybody who came out and searched for him. This was a tragic incident with no foul play, as per the sheriff.
The body of 18-year-old black teen Nolan Xavier Wells has been found. His white friends who were with him on the trip have already hired lawyers.
When I saw this news break out, I literally was like, this is the reason why I have a hard time making white friends. Because I never know what's up here with them when it comes to black people. They might smile in your face, they might say hi to you, they might make you feel like welcomed and respected and all those things, but they really don't like you, low-key. Like, tell me how you go out with your friends and one of your friend is missing, and instead of staying where they're missing at, you guys go home instead. And that's weird to me. And then to top it off, they decided that once the friend was considered missing, they wanted to lawyer up. What kind of shitty friend are you? Or friends are you guys? Like, literally. It pisses me off because this is a young black man and he probably grew up in a predominantly white area, and obviously he ended up having a lot of white friends, and his parents probably never told him the real truth, which is that you gotta be careful when you're around those who don't look like you. It sucks. It really does. It's sad that he lost his life, and I hope his mom and his dad and his family gets justice, because this is ridiculous.
So, I don't know if y'all been following this, but this is Nolan Wells, a young black kid who went out to celebrate the 4th of July. He was out on a boat, hanging out with some friends. He ends up going missing. The friends said they were on an island. They didn't know where he was. They left the island. And apparently it turns out that Nolan, his body has been found. I don't know all the details of the story, but what I do know is that this is a long history of black people disappearing or being unalived in some form or fashion in suspicious circumstances. And we had the Black Lives Matter movement not only to protest police brutality, but also to highlight how the lives of black people are so often ignored and disregarded. Because I have not heard enough about this case on the news and from sort of mainstream media, not only on TV, but also on this app and other apps. And I'm old enough to remember when Gabby Petito went missing and how that was a national story, a worldwide story. So oftentimes it is the case that when the victim or when the person missing is black, we don't care. When the person is white, and especially a white woman, you get a lot of attention. And I wish it were the case that the lives of black people were seen as valuable. So I don't know what happened with Nolan Wells. It's a terribly tragic story.
Nolan Wells' body has been found on the shores of Mississippi. He went missing a day before they found his body on July 4th. It is really, really unfortunate how people are talking about Nolan Wells right now. It is racist. If I went missing and I was murdered, people would not be talking about my actions. Was he drinking? Did he start an argument? Hey, guess what? This is America. You should be able to start an argument and not die. That should be your right, no matter the color of your skin. And that's, this country is 250 years old. We have to fight for a better place for everyone here. And the conversations that are happening right now are already blaming Nolan. Now, we don't know all the facts about this case, so I am not making any factual claims. I'm just going to show you this picture of what is a screenshot of him talking to his friends. And then an hour later, he's gone. And it's already people talking about what he was doing. Where if it was me that was washed up on shore, people would be like, wait, we have a murderer in our mix. What the fuck? Why would someone do that to Jake? That's the conversations that would be happening. And I pray, I am genuinely praying for our country that we can live in a place where everyone is treated the same way that I would be treated. Because how is it that a young man goes missing and his dead body is washed up and we're talking about his actions? It is disgusting and it is horrible. But I see people working, and we can put in the work, and we can make. Just 2 days ago, we were celebrating America's 250th birthday, and we're still struggling with this. But if we work together, if we see each other through our differences, and we celebrate those differences, we can fight for a better place for ourselves. But we can't stop talking about Nolan, okay? We gotta spread the word.
I beg your finest fucking pardon, but I know if my friend went missing, I wouldn't be out partying a few hours later. Hell, if it was just somebody that I remotely cared about and didn't wish harm upon, I'd be trying to find them. And I sure as hell know that I wouldn't leave an actual island without them. And I know that I wouldn't be deleting all my social media and having my parents even delete their social media. I know I would be openly working with anybody and everybody and speaking out very publicly to find information, to find out why they are unalive. But no, that's not what happened to Nolan Xavier Wells, because those individuals were not his friends. They were not even his acquaintances. They clearly did not care about him at all or his well-being. Because if they did, this is not the storyline that we would be hearing. This is not the timeline of actions that we would be seeing. The fact that one of those kids lawyered up as soon as news broke about Nolan Xavier Wells' disappearance, we all knew how this was going to end up after that moment. This happens so much in our society that I fear that people just expect it now because it's all too fucking common. But we all know, had that picture had been 3 black teenage boys with 1 white teenage boy, this would be all over mainstream media and the president would be fucking talking about it right now. We all fucking know that. Rest in peace, Nolan Xavier Wells, and I truly hope that your family finds peace and you receive justice, because this is so fucking wrong and we need to keep his name alive. This has to stop in our country.
Congresswoman, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Nolan Wells investigation. Some people feel like it's racially motivated. What do you think?
I think that specifically as Black Americans in the United States right now, we are always going to question whether or not there is a racial motivation, but also, if you know the history of Mississippi, I think that you'd have to be blind not to question potentially what is happening, especially in the case of an 18-year-old who ends up deceased without his cell phone, without any communication whatsoever with anybody, prior to ending up deceased, and he was out with his Caucasian friends, and then law enforcement tells everybody there's no foul play to be suspected. Now,
a blind man could see that there's something to investigate. And so I want to applaud the legal team, Ben Crump and his team, as well as his parents, for not giving up and accepting no as an answer.
Well, it sounds like you think it is racially motivated.
I absolutely think that, I can tell you that we don't have any answers. But if you think that race is not something to look at, then you are not really trying to investigate.
So what do you think?
Well, I mean, you know me. I'm a civil rights lawyer. I mean, I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the fact that these white kids deleted their social media accounts. It's not like they sat down and talked to law enforcement. It's not even like law enforcement decided that they wanted to sit down and talk to them. They decided, oh, the little black boy ended up dead without his cell phone, without his friends, going and telling his parents, oh yeah, we got the cell phone. They got to go and track down the phone and find the phone. It looks like a racial thing to me, but hey, maybe we'll find out that it wasn't.
Well, what's interesting is we had his football coach on our TV show today, and he said that there was never any racial tension between any of the students or anything like that. So, I mean, that kind of points that maybe this wasn't racially motivated.
I mean, I can't say what even the cause of death really is. We know that there's an independent autopsy that's going on. But I can tell you that race is absolutely playing a role. What role? Whether it had to do with his death, whether it had to do with the fact that maybe your friends left you to die, or your friends didn't care that maybe you did die. I do believe that there's a racial component, or if it's just in law enforcement not feeling as if Nolan Wells was worthy of an actual investigation, but instead decided that there was no foul play, seemingly with no evidence, without talking to any witnesses. That to me is where there are racial components to this for sure. But I will not say that I know for sure that race played a role in his death.
Are you in the camp of if Nolan was white and his friends were...
Yeah. Okay. The friends, listen, they would have absolutely been under the jail with no questions asked first.
Really?
But for sure.
Okay, Nolan's parents just did a press conference with his lawyer, and they were saying there was probably over 200 people, 200 kids, teenagers there, maybe adults. Why are you not coming forward? Why are you not contacting Nolan's lawyer? Why are the parents not sitting down with their children and finding and figuring out and seeking for answers? And then white people want to say, why does this always have to be about race? Are you kidding me right now? Because everything is about race. Everything. And guess who started that? We white people. We made it about race because we come from black people. We made it about race. This has everything to do about race. And this has been going on for centuries. Many, many black kids, boys, girls, adults have been murdered by white people, murdered by police officers, and just white people stay silent. They stay in their little bubble. They protect one another. It's disgusting. So this is your choice. This is your chance. This is your time to be an actual human being, to actually have empathy and make the correct choice, make the right decision right now, to speak up, to contact Nolan's lawyers. We all know this is the thing. You cannot fake intuition. You cannot. You cannot fake intuition. You cannot fake energy. We know what these white boys did. We know they killed him. We know. And their parents are now trying to cover it up. And now, apparently, the boat that they were on got cleaned outside some judge's house. Oh, I wonder what judge that was, or what kind of connections she has with other judges. This is what they do. This is what white people do. So when people want to ask, why are they making it about race? Because it's always about race. Everything is about race. Wake up, white people. Wake up. I grew up with white privileged boys like this. I know exactly the attitude, the energy they have, how they move, what kind of bullies they are, what their parents are, how their parents cover up everything they do. This has everything to do about race.
And quit calling them white boys Nolan's friends. Those were not his friends. Those were never his friends, because friends care about your well-being. Friends are not going to leave you somewhere on an island where you have no way of getting back home. Friends are not going to say, I don't know what happened to him. I don't remember, when it comes to the questioning of where you are and why you did not return with them. Friends care about you and want to make sure that nothing bad happens to you. Friends are not going to unalive you, allegedly, over a dispute, over a girl. Those are not friends. Friends are not going to make you be in a situation that you're uncomfortable with. Friends are not going to say, well, we're just going to ditch them. And then when they ask us, we don't know nothing. Friends are the type of people that want to make sure that you are okay at all times. Those were never his friends. And I need y'all to stop making it out to be like all of this has to do with Nolan's behavior. Because why is the questioning surrounding, well, what was Nolan doing? Well, who was he arguing with? And I don't know why y'all are saying that video shows an argument. That video clearly shows him standing there with a group of people. I see no argument happening. So I don't know where y'all are getting an argument from. That is hearsay from the person that filmed the video. Like, okay. But why are we not concerned that he was the only one against how many? We don't even know, because we don't know the situation. All we know is that boy is dead after being ditched by his group of white friends. And they don't know what happened. None of them care to know, to remember details about their friend that is now dead. They never cared about that boy. Those were never his friends. So please, please, because for anybody with some sense, the questioning would not be like, well, what was Nolan doing? Well, who was he arguing with? Well, was he hopping from boat to boat? No, the question would be like, why do we have somebody who's willing to murder somebody on the loose right now? Why are these boys not aware of what was going on? We should be more concerned about what they were doing leading up to the death of this young man. Why is the blame going on the victim who can no longer defend himself because he's gone now? After being, once again, the only black person in a group of white folk. Please, those were never his friends.